Huge news. Someone named Brent said that I can skyrocket my IG page's reputation with 10K to 100K plus followers instantly. High quality followers. I only have to give him $637. 2026 is going to be a breeze. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing great. I've been wanting to make this video for a little while, but frankly, we just haven't gotten to 2026 yet, so it hasn't really made any sense to make it. But I've been thinking a lot about my photography business and about what I want to do moving forward and things that I want to do to change it, things I want to do to, I don't know, not get 10K more followers, but things I want to do to try and improve my business overall. And I'm making some pretty big changes. And so I kind of just want to take you through what those are. There's going to be in-depth videos about each of these things, but this is sort of like a general overview. So if you're interested in sort of what it means to run a photography business, what it means to move forward and to try and grow and that kind of thing, follow along with that. And I'm actually considering starting a whole new channel where we're just talking about like finances and how to approach the photography, videography, and creative business. So let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd be interested in. Comment down below, finance, bro. Comment down below, finance, not bro. Comment down below, say something. So having run brick and mortar businesses in the past, owning coffee shops, I know that it is really tempting to try and always make changes to your business, to get lost in the idea of like 10xing or improving all the time and not taking note of what's actually working and just going steady. I was talking about it today. A friend of mine runs this roastery. They've been around for a long time now, but they took things really slow. The growth was slow, but it was steady and consistent, and they're doing better than ever because they were thoughtful about what they did. I feel like in my photography business over the past few years, I made some decisions that I thought were going to really help me to 10x my growth or something like that. And I was doing things that I was seeing other photographers do who were further along or more mature in their photography business than I was, and it made sense for them to do those things. And you can get into this idea that, well, if it makes sense for them to do it, it makes sense for me to do it. But that's not always the case. And as such, I found myself making certain decisions about programs I was using, about websites, about the way I was presenting myself that was just a few things. It wasn't emblematic of who I am. It wasn't honest about where I am at in my photography business. And it was just costing me more money than it was worth. So I want to talk to you about what a few of those things were and some of the changes I'm making and why I feel so much better moving forward. I'm not making this video to throw companies under the bus or anything like that. In fact, I'm not going to be specific about the companies I was using. I'm only going to be specific about what I've switched to and why I've done that. And for full transparency, some of the reason I've done that is because I've been able to utilize this platform in order to allow me to partner with certain brands so that I could help with the overhead of my business and also to present something more interesting to my clients. So let's start with this, my website. For a while, I was working with a website from Squarespace, and that was totally fine. And then I got it into my head that I needed a more professional website. Whatever that meant. To me, I guess what it meant was I needed a website that had like really, really great SEO driven focus. I needed a website that was like developed by somebody, that was made for photographers by photographers, that was going to help me with all sorts of different stuff. And I found a company that does that. They also run an interesting program where they do marketing for you and you pay them to put out Facebook and Instagram ads and they manage those ads and all this other stuff. Now I paid a couple $1,000s to get the website set up and to get that initial process going. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with investing in your business and with spending money on a great website. Totally think that that's important. I think that's fair. From there, I was spending somewhere around, $30-40 a month US to keep that website going. And then I was also paying for the domain, paid for that separately. That's not a huge fee, but that's just there. And then I was doing their program where they were doing marketing for me. And that worked out to about $650 a month. Half of that was spent on the Facebook ads and half of that was spent on them continually running those ads for me. Basically, the ads were like this. It was to find me new couples to shoot their wedding. The way it worked was that they would put out an ad and say that I was offering free engagement sessions to very select couples. And so people could apply for this, and then I could sift through their applications and decide the ones I wanted to offer it to. The hope being that by offering them a free engagement session, it would convert them to being a paying customer. Did it work? Kind of. We're going to get into that in a minute. But overall, that was like a big overhead, right? That's a big monthly overhead to have. But I felt like it was justified because I felt like it was going to get me new clients. First of all, I could have been running those ads by myself and spending that entire $650 on the ads instead of spending half of it to get them to manage that. They deserve that. They absolutely deserve that, because it would be totally ridiculous for me to expect them to do it for free. That's not fair. I want people to get paid what they're worth. But ultimately, I had the bandwidth and the capacity to be running those ads myself. But it felt like I was doing this. Here's what it felt like. Sometimes you can kid yourself into thinking that you're like, by investing in your business, you're like investing in your future. And that can be true a lot of the time. But sometimes you're justifying doing more than you really need to for your business because you think that's going to be the next big thing that's going to break you open. So in my head, and in talking to my partner, we were like, okay, this is great. We're going to do this. I'm going to spend this money. And that means that, let's say over 6 months, I spend $35-ish $100 on all of this. Even if I just book one wedding from that balances it out and I break even. And that's true. That's totally true. If I book 2 weddings, all of a sudden I'm making money. Awesome. That's what we like to hear. That's a good return. But did I book any weddings from it? Well, I ran the ads for about 5 months and I shot a bunch of engagement sessions. Hard to say if I'm going to book any of those. As it stands, I haven't booked any of them. And that could come down to me not being, somebody that they want to book, my work not working well. But what I will say is the people who reached out to me outside of that, who just organically reached out to me based on my web presence, based on the fact that they liked my work, those people have booked. So I've booked weddings for next year and the following year. And that's always been with people who found me organically, not through these like free engagement session ads. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying that it was an expense that for me felt like it was worth it at the time and just ultimately wasn't. So I've decided to move away from that program, and I have done a couple of new things. The big change that I made was I moved away from working with this one company to working with Pixpa. Pixpa is an interesting company because they're developed specifically to work with photographers. So their whole thing is that they're looking to create websites for portfolio work and for wedding photographers and other fashion photographers, all that kind of stuff. What's cool about their program is that it's just as easy as working with something like Squarespace, but it's even more affordable than Squarespace. And from what I have found in working with it for a little while is that I'm able to do certain things on it that I could certainly do with Squarespace, but it just, I don't know, it felt a little bit more intuitive than the time I had spent working with Squarespace. And if anything, I just felt like, great, I've got this less expensive, more straightforward option that I can use, and I really like the way my website is looking. So I took my website back into my own hands, and I did that through Pixpa, which is really, really great. One of the cool things too about working with Pixpa is that you can actually host client galleries there if you want to, which is really interesting. So that does actually solve a problem for a lot of photographers. That's not a problem I have because I actually have a different way that I go about sending galleries to couples. But if you wanted to do it all through them, you could. You can also, you can have a shop function, you can have a blog, you can have all the things you would normally have on your website, you can do through Pixpa. So I decided to shift over to them. What that means is that I'm saving money every single month on the actual fees for the website because it's a much lower cost website, which frankly is all I need. I don't need a super expensive website. I just need a website that works, and this website works, and that's all I really care about. And then I'm also saving that $650 a month that I can then choose to either reinvest all of that or part of that into ads that I think are more emblematic of who I am. Now that I have a website that feels more like me, now that I have a website that is like functioning in the way I want it to function, I can then start pushing people to that website in a way where I think I'll be able to get a lot more traction, which is really exciting. So I'm stoked about that. I haven't decided exactly how much money I'm going to put into marketing every month. That's going to be my next kind of phase of all this. But for sure, right now, I know I've saved myself a huge amount of money every month by shifting away from that and just taking things into my own hands. The next thing I've done is I've sort of reimagined my wedding packages a little bit, and I've started offering some new things. So rather than having a ton of different wedding packages, what I've decided to do is to have like a base wedding package, and that is a 10-hour package. I think that that is the sweet spot for so many couples, and I have a price for that. If people want me to be there for longer, we add on. If people want me to be there for less, we take away. It's really simple. And then they've got a bunch of fun add-ons that they can do, like a wedding day vlog, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to be shooting some of those next year. They can add ceremony and speeches, they can add film photography, they can add a second photographer, all that kind of stuff. It's really, really simple. It's a nice way for me to be able to just make it easier for my couples. And I think that that's important because whether you're a wedding photographer or you're a commercial photographer or portrait, or you do senior portraits, whatever you do, I think no matter what, making it easy for your customers is really important. And that's something I'm trying to do more of. And part of that means changing the way that I'm interacting with them. So right now, previously, my old website was also what I used for all of my booking CRM, but I've actually switched to a new one, which is called Lemly. The reason I went with Lemly is twofold. One, I wanted to have more control over everything on my end, and I wanted to be the person who was actually communicating with the couples and doing it through my own email, because I just found that a lot easier. So Lemly doesn't actually like send out stuff to them. They send everything to me as a draft, and then I can then send that to the client, which is very cool. The other thing is that Lemly is owned and operated by a friend of mine. And to be honest, I think we need to support our friends more than ever right now. So it's owned by two gentlemen who are like incredible wedding videographers. The stuff they make is so good. And they specifically wanted to make a CRM that worked well for videographers and for photographers in the wedding space. So everything works really, really simple. It looks nice. It's easy to use. This isn't an ad for Lemly. I am going to be making a video about them, but this is all to say that what I've decided to do is to, again, take my business into my own hands a little bit more again, and to use a CRM that allows me to do that. So I really like this CRM so far. I've only been using it for a little while, but I've converted all my bookings over to it. It's easy. It's got tons of templates. And again, it's another way I'm choosing to focus on what actually matters for my business. Because before, I felt like I needed to have the professional website from the company that all the professional photographers that I was around were using. So I did that, and I didn't like it. Same with the CRM. I just didn't like the CRM. It wasn't working for me, and that's fine. It's not like it's the end of the world. That happens. But I'm really glad that I have started to listen to myself a little bit more. The last change I'm making, and this is more of a broad ethereal concept, but I'm kind of reimagining a little bit about what I want to do online, the way I want to show up. And that has to do with YouTube, that has to do with social media. Basically, what I'm trying to figure out is, can I find a path forward where YouTube starts to become a larger part of my income? So right now, YouTube is paying for some, 3/4 of my groceries in the month, which is rad, and I'm getting free gear, and that's great. But I'm starting to get people reach out to me and ask me about sponsored videos. And to be honest, I'm super excited about that. Now, you're not gonna see like Squarespace ads or something here because they're not reaching out, but I'm also really trying to think about finding some unique brands that I can really stand behind that maybe aren't even in the photography space, but I think are cool brands that I align with, that align with my values, and working with them more closely. That probably also means creating some content for them. And I'm just broadening my perspective of what I can do with this channel. So we're still going to be doing stuff about, about gear, about photography, about all that stuff, but I might be starting to bring you some stuff that actually matters a lot to who I am, to bring you deeper into understanding me as a creator, as a person. And I think that's really cool. And I want the brands that I work with to kind of represent that. So I'm starting to have those conversations. I'm starting to reach out to some people. And so you might start seeing some kind of cool different content on here that I'm really excited about. Now, in terms of gear, what am I changing in terms of gear? To be honest, not very much. I like the gear I'm working with. It's working just fine. I would love to add a Leica M-mount digital camera to my scenario here, but it's not going to happen for a while. There's also some other cool like cinema gear I'd like to do, because I do want to start getting into more filmmaking. I want to start working on my next documentary. This next year, I've got some bigger photo projects. So there might be some changes to gear. And obviously as stuff comes in and I'm here to kind of represent that gear or check it out, that's stuff that I'll bring to you guys and you can decide what you think about it. But par for the course when it comes to that. I'm really thinking about my photography business more holistically and not like gear focused, not just like how do I get way more followers or something like that. I'm really trying to think of it holistically of like, what do I want it to do for me and how do I want to serve my couples or my prospective clients better, and how do I serve the community on YouTube better? So lots to think about, and I appreciate you guys just rapping along with me here, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Also, as we're recording, I got a wedding inquiry, which is rad. So hey, 2026 is looking fun. Bye.